Today's episode is sponsored by Billy Keel's Advisory Services. If you want to learn more about how to make your 99 optional, just go to makeitoptional.com. Once again, that's makeitoptional.com.
Helping you build freedom without losing your edge. This is the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels.
One of my favorite things to do on this podcast is to sit down with experienced enterprise software sales leaders. And you know what? Today, one of the things that I can do is even be extremely excited about it because today's guest is an ex-enterprise software leader with an amazing pedigree. You know, he went from actually leading sales in his home country, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. He's going to tell you because he's going to let you know that. But he did that, and then he went to building and deploying a large deal team that was focused specifically on the responsibilities that he had worldwide. But you know what? Nowadays, what he's doing is he is continuing to leverage those same skills and experiences to help other leaders so that they can get more, not only from themselves, but also from their teams. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation, the founder and owner of Coachain, Mr. Arnaud Chain. Arnaud, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Very kind of you.
You know what?
Very flattering introduction.
Well, thank you very much. You've earned it, man. You've earned all of it. So I really appreciate that you are here and having had the opportunity to know who you are and see you as a person, as a leader. I know that so many people across the globe today from the Going Long family are going to learn from you. Now, I always try to do my best, Arnaud, and I say a little bit about you, but I know with your experience, the different skills that you consistently develop, I've just scratched the surface. So what I would love for you to do is share your backstory in your own words. The one thing that I would ask you is that as you explain your backstory, Arnaud, if you could please talk to us about some of the major decisions that you've made up to this point in your life, and then we'll see where you and I take the conversation from there.
Sure. Thank you, Billy. So, to put it really short, I think I've been very lucky. And yeah, there are some decisions or some intuitions, I would say, along the path that have made me, was it the right choice every time? It's difficult to say, but that's where I am today. And I think I have been able to accomplish at least what I was hoping to accomplish when I started working. So I studied geophysics. At the time, I was interested in sciences, and now in geophysics, you usually end up in an oil company trying to find where to drill to find oil, which is exciting, but I think I've been lucky enough that those companies were not hiring when I started to search for work. And therefore, I joined another company just to do IT coding. And there I figured out quite quickly that I was okay in coding, but I wasn't the best. And I was lucky there because I knew someone working at Oracle. So I moved to Oracle in pre-sales, and there I figured out that probably I wasn't the best techie. I wasn't the best pre-sales. What I discovered is that I was good at communication, and especially explaining complex things in a simple way. And at the time at Oracle, there was a great guy at corporate who spent, I would say, most of his time teaching the market what relational databases were. And so I copied his style, and that helped me a lot. That helped me actually move into product marketing. So a little bit further away from the pure technical stuff and more into, okay, how do you position things? How do you make them compelling to customers? And I moved on then to a more marketing and sales, because the one thing I could figure out at Oracle is that if you're not in sales, You're not often giving your you're not very often asked about future decisions, or the credibility goes to sales.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I need to get closer to sales. So I moved towards sales. But then when I was a sales rep, I found out I wasn't necessarily the best sales rep either. But here I learned something else, that actually the best sales reps, they were not the ones that understood the product the better. They were not the ones that understood even the customer the better. They were the reps that could establish relationship the better. And so getting to know your customer, getting to know where he goes on holidays, and the name of his kids, and what are their hobbies, and I was amazed by that, because I was more on the more logical things, that you need to know your product, you need to know the customer needs, you need to match them, you need to match the strategy, you need to articulate the value. These are all the reasons people should buy. But actually, no, they buy from people. And that was difficult for me to get into, because I felt I was manipulating people if I wasn't truly interested in them. Mm. So I actually built my way slightly differently. What I was really good at is actually helping the sales reps and the pre-sales and build that story. Yeah. And I think because I went through all difficulties into how to sell and how to position products, and I was good at actually articulating the messages in a way that the reps and the pre-sales would know how to convey, and the customers would like to hear. So that was my strength. It took me maybe 20 years to find it out. But actually, that's what helped me in the last 6-7 years to build that practice around large deals. Mm-hmm. And even though I wasn't the best at talking to customers and negotiating, I was probably very good at enabling the reps, giving them ambition, giving them processes and practices in how to build a large deal, something much bigger than they had initially thought of. Yeah. So that's how I ended up, becoming a VP at VMware, and building a large deal practice with around 300 people around the globe. None of them were sales reps. We were just enablers of sales reps, but I had consultants, offer managers, so a whole team to really help the ones that would vote for, I have a big deal in the next 9 to 12 months, really help them land the deal.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different things that that you talk about, whether it's from starting in the geophysics side of things, which is still pretty phenomenal to me, by the way, that you start there and then you continued through your corporate career in enterprise software. But one of the things that you just mentioned, right? You finished, as you talked about, and maybe for some people that are listening, it got lost. But I just want to make sure, because even though you talked about this team that you had that was a worldwide team that was enabling, it's really about setting the foundation, number one, because if your foundation is weak, and you can talk to this, and whether that is leading people or building a net new opportunity, there's also something that is very unique to the complexities of large multinational organizations and worldwide teams. So for someone who, you started working in your home country, and then you've leading a team across different cultures and also complexities within a multinational organization. Can you talk to us a little bit about that evolution and how that's even helping you today as you work with other multinational leaders and or their teams?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So actually I started in France. My accent betrays me every sentence.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
But I quickly moved into managing an EMEA organization. And actually what I figured out is that the way people sell It has differences. Definitely, you don't negotiate in the same way in Japan than in France, typically. Although it's not the same alcohol, but it's still sometimes around alcohol.
See, you can only have this with a worldwide perspective. There you go.
But what I found out is that the level of autonomy that is given to a sales rep and to a first line sales manager and to a regional manager and even to a geo leader is phenomenal. You kind of assume that they sell in the same way, that they forecast in the same way, that they inspect an opportunity in the same way, but actually they don't. And people would think, well, it's kind of the basics. I mean, how a software company would not have those common practices across the world? Well, most of them, they don't. They give the quota to a rep. They assume he's going to make it. If he really doesn't make it, then they fire him or her. And therefore, only the best survive. But the reality is that in most software companies, you have 20% that thrive. They are really, really good. They don't always know why, but they are really good. 40% that are average and 20% that are not making it. And all the success is actually by raising the level of the 40%. And this you can only do by creating practices and making sure people learn the way to do things. If all your first line sales managers forecast in the same way, suddenly the regional forecast becomes much more a piece of cake. If you have to judge that, this one is usually too optimistic, so I will discount a little bit his number. This one is too conservative, so I will raise his number. If you have to do this kitchen thing, for sure you're going to miss a quarter or two. So that's one thing I figured out, and that helped me expand from EMEA to other geos, because actually the practice we put in place, it worked. The other thing is that most software companies, they become highly dependent on their past because all of their model is based on growth. If they do a $5 million deal that is unusual, the next year, they dilute the 5 million among all the quotas, but therefore no one feels the responsibility to achieve ultimately the 5 million plus. And that's where lots of companies, they end up failing one quarter or another, which has tremendous consequences, as we all know. So in order to avoid and continue the growth, you have to build a machine of creating new opportunities that are large and ensuring that you would land a significant number of them. And actually, most of the very large deals you're going to land, because that's where you put all your focus and all your resources. The thing is, you need to create a volume of them. If you just hope, and when you enter a new quarter, you look at your pipeline and there is not enough of them, hey, you're cooked.
That's when you know that there's a big issue. And you're reminding me of when they said, I remember one, you're taking me back to my days when someone said, I hope that we get this. And someone said, hope is not a strategy. That's never going to get you to your hope is not a strategy. That's never going to get you to your quota. Right. And so that was a reset. So it's interesting. So as you recognize these efficiencies, because I would call them a lot of efficiencies that you are able to recognize and then create those best practices and you share them. This is one of the superpowers that I would say many of our corporate leaders, whether you've had a regional and specifically on a worldwide basis, because it's just not everyone has that opportunity. So I would say that you have a very unique perspective as it relates to that. I would like to ask you also too, like you talked about some of the positive parts about the corporate experience. But if you look back over your corporate career and you think, well, you know what, if there was one thing that I could have done differently, or maybe not you, but some of the things that as you are working with other leaders today, what's one of the big things that most of the leaders that either you had conversations with before or that you're working with now, that you see that this is a recurring theme of something that well, I want to be able to do this better, but I just can't seem to I can't seem to do it right. What would that be?
Well, that's what coaching taught me, is that when you have a super recipe for success, if you come over and you are kind of imposed from the top to another set of people, if you just say, okay, you have to apply my recipe and it will work, it's very hard for these people to adopt it. The human brain is such that people need to experiment to believe. And if you're given the solution, maybe it's not enough fun, but lots of people are actually going to try to prove it wrong. And for sure, there is no recipe that is strong enough that if people apply it in not exactly the right way, they will prove it wrong. So I think through the coaching techniques, you would be asking questions rather than come with a solution. You would be asking questions and making people figure out that, yes, they don't have the same practices all across the sales hierarchy. Yes, there are gaps in the pipeline every quarter that they don't really know how to fulfill. Yes, there are big deals that are slipping because people don't have a consistent approach to actually inspecting an opportunity. Once they have admitted all that, you ask them, okay, what could be the solution? And then they will build the recipe. You already have it, but if you impose it, it's going to fail. And I think I learned my lessons a couple of times where people were saying, not invented here. Maybe it worked elsewhere, but we are very, very special. Our different. Market is different. Our customers are different. Everything was different. So I think the coaching technique is a lot stronger.
And so when you recognize that and you help to pull the responses versus pushing the responses down, it also helps you to be able to have that perspective, right? And one of the things.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sure.
There are definitely worldwide differences. Some of the customers are not organized in the same way. Some of their so there are adaptations that are important. And you go in Japan, typically the hierarchies are so strong that if you try to shortcut going from a middle manager to the top, you're going to get killed. Because you just don't do that in Japan. In every other country, or in a lot of other countries, maybe you're going to upset the middle manager that you were talking with. But actually, the guy at the top would eventually be very happy to talk to you directly, will accept the meeting if you have the right reasons to get to him or to her.
Right.
So there are some areas where things are really different. Okay, I don't want to undermine that.
Yeah. How would you say that your own personal leadership philosophy evolved as a result of your worldwide experience or even your regional experience?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think leadership is really a combination. I don't believe in a lot of techniques in leadership. I believe in really being yourself and believing very strongly into what you're telling your team. I always imagine that I'm leading a team or soldiers, and we come through a forest, and we're at the beginning of the forest, and I have two choices. Either I show confidence and I walk first, or I'm not too sure. I tell them, I motivate them, and I say, go, you go. I stay behind. And for sure, leadership is about the first attitude, is showing people by yourself. And that having strong beliefs is very important. And I think I've been very annoying to a lot of people in the corporate world by challenging the status quo. And being the devil's advocate in a number of meetings and trying to push people, because that's always in those discussions that new ideas appear. And everybody is comfortable with the existing way of doing things, and it's very unlikely that new ideas are going to spark.
And Arnaud, would you say that that's something that you've always had, or was that an evolution because you started to be exposed to different people, different thoughts, or is that just uniquely you? You've held that philosophy.
Having studied a bit psychology, I would say I was unsure of myself, and people who are unsure are very aggressive and stating other things very strongly because they want to prove themselves.
Right.
And I think I was this way, actually not because I was feeling strong, but actually because I was not feeling that strong. But I was good at aligning arguments and convey different ways of looking at things. And so, yeah, it's not that I had the solution, and many times I would actually end up contradicting myself in the end. Saying, okay, I've been playing devil's advocate. Now I know where I stand because we've raised all these arguments and I know why I go this way. Before, everybody was going this way, but actually we never discussed it.
Yeah. No, that's so there's
maybe I can give you an example.
Yeah, sure.
At Business Objects. Mm-hmm. We were very much concentrating on the enterprise space. Everything was done for large companies. We were mainly targeting large companies, which was normal because we were a young company and therefore we were going for the big tickets. Yeah. And then there was a time I figured out that a rather small French company, about less than 15 million turnover, so small company, had actually spent 80K of Business Objects products. So I started to do calculations and figuring out, okay, how many companies of that size are there out there? And if we don't take the 80K, we just divide it by 2, we say 40K, and we start to do the math. And actually the opportunity suddenly became gigantic. I said, okay, probably we need to have a mid-market division because today our contracts are 40 pages long. Everything is complex for the enterprise. And so whenever a small company buys from us, our processes are so complex. If we were just making it way simpler, packaging the product in an easier way and so on, and probably SAP went through exactly the same thing. Wherever you start, you actually create the opportunity the other side. If you start in mid-market, you suddenly get an opportunity in the enterprise, and you have to go and grab it. Of course, you need different elements, but the product can actually be quite the same. And I had seen that at Oracle before. So I got lost a bit.
No, what it does is when you recognize the market opportunities and then you take those market opportunities, and sometimes it will be a contrarian point of view, but when you are able to push those points of view forward, then others can see, not always, but they can see that there is a big opportunity. And so one of the things that's great, Arnaud, as you explained, right, you're bringing to perspective like different ways that your unique perspective, and whether it's working at Oracle that you talked about, or Business Objects, or VMware, or working locally in France, or working across a region like Europe, Middle East, and Africa, or working globally on a worldwide scale, these help to make you uniquely qualified to help other leaders that are in any of these different situations. And so one of the things that I'm really dying to know, though, is I believe that, well, I don't believe it's just reality. Like every relationship, including corporate, ends, right? It's either that you end the relationship with the company because you have another opportunity or a life event happens and you need to take a break away, or a company can reorganize itself, or they have to right size to make sure that they have the right number of people for what the plan that they want to work for. Or, and this is the one that I hope never it happens, is that someone passes away, right? Every relationship ends. And if we think about that in corporate, it really is in the first two. And everyone has a story. I would love to know what your story is, because you no longer are in the corporate world. You could very easily be in the corporate world, but I'd love for you to share that just to keep things real for everyone. Kind of as part of your story, where you are now, and also too, what was it that made you decide to continue to now want to do your own thing versus, go to do something else in corporate, because you obviously have the experience to be able to do that?
Yeah, good question. So actually, it's not that I suddenly woke up one morning saying, "What am I doing in corporate?" It's a more classic story
Great.
that I think a lot of people will be able to relate to. I was part of VMware. VMware got acquired. Half of the company was laid off, which actually was an opportunity for me, to be realistic, and actually made me think, okay, what do I want to do? I want to go for another big company, and I know how to navigate these. I know what to do. I know what I can bring. But actually, one thing I always thought is when you're part of such a big company, you're not 100% sure what is your value. You don't know whether you're the one creating movement or whether you're just part of the wind that the company and the market creates. So it's very difficult to understand, okay, have I really changed things? Have I been at the origin of these shifts? Or was it just lagging there and I happened to be part of it?
Right.
So when you move into your own business and you are on your own, that's where you can test your abilities very, very quickly, because you have to find customers, you have to understand what you're good at, what's your credibility on the market, whether you have a network, a solid network, people who will take you on the phone, not just because they like you, or won't take you on the phone because actually they never liked you. So you figure out very quickly whether you have been good at building relationships, and if you still have value.
Yeah.
Because those large companies, in a way, they can do whatever they want, and that's my target. I'm doing coaching of sales executives or entrepreneurs in the software industry, and I'm doing consulting around large deal practices and go-to-market strategies. These are the two domains that I think I have something to bring, because those large companies, I mean,
I would confirm that. Yes, you have something to bring. I would say, let me be your cheerleader.
Thank you. But those large companies, I mean, they have multiple brains that already are thinking about this at corporate level. They can use other consultants, and so you have to find the right way to articulate things that are a little bit different than what one of the big five can articulate, or you don't have the same manpower, but you have probably more experience, and you can adapt to a specific context and figure out, just analyzing some numbers, whether there is something that can be done better, or not, and having a few discussions with the sales leaders and so on. So
Arnaud, I would say once again, I mean, you bring a really unique perspective, because it's really about, I guess what I would say is, for that high achiever there, it's sometimes, well, what I believe I heard you say is, it's about questioning the individual impact and value that you are bringing to everything. And so that the fact that you were questioning that, number one, says a lot about you, because many people don't even ask those types of introspective types of questions. And then to go from that to now be able to test that hypothesis, because you know what the impact is already inside of the corporate. But now as you start to ask these certain questions, you're testing your hypothesis outside of the corporate walls to really understand the value that you have, to really understand the impact that you have, to really understand the different skill set and experiences that work for you in corporate. How many of those can you now actually have work for you, so that once again, it comes back to you being able to make the impact that you want. Did I understand that correctly? Because that's a really powerful thought process.
Absolutely. You understood perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's, I think everybody at some point in time suffers the imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because when you have or what looks like such a big role,
yeah.
And especially when you look at job descriptions, they are so scary. I mean, you need to be a genius to be fulfilling all the requirements of a job desk. I mean, you need to speak 5 languages, having worked in 3 continents, and having achieved quota every single quarter since you were born. And it's like, hey, man. And you don't want me to lie because you're going to do fact checking afterwards. And okay, can I really apply? Am I up for this job? It's usually, plus you are in career progression most of the time, so there are things you haven't done there. So I think it starts there with the job description and when you apply, and I think once you're on your own, you've chosen your job, and that's where you can really find out what you're good. I mean, whether what you thought you were good at is really what you are good at.
Yeah, no, and I love the way that you explain that. And I guess one of the questions that comes to mind, right, is that you have such a wealth of experience. And there are so many other people that are now watching us and they're listening to us, and they've done over 2 decades in their company, or maybe 2.5 decades, or maybe 3 decades. And they're thinking, well, I have this opportunity, or I really want to do something else. But there's always this concern about risk. And I want to be real about that, right? Because you talked about imposter syndrome, but sometimes there can be a risk that you perceive about doing something on your own. Mm-hmm. And so I'm wondering, Arnaud, if that happened to you, did you ever have any kind of risk that you perceived with being able to do something on your own? And if so, how did you work through those feelings or those doubts of risk or perceived risk?
Yeah, actually you face multiple risks of failure. I mean, one is financial. But sometimes it's not the biggest. Sometimes you have some money, especially towards the end of your career. You have safety net somewhere. So not necessarily the biggest, but once you've told everyone, you've built your structure, and you've told everyone, yeah, I'm going to do that. The biggest failure is in the eyes of the other people that you don't succeed. And that you don't find customers, or the work you deliver at the end is maybe not top quality, and the word spreads quite quickly around. So there are multiple risks that you are facing. But I think it's also what motivates you.
Yeah.
If there wasn't risk, if there was only comfort, that would probably be the biggest risk of failure, because you have to be uncertain to rally your strength. And in the morning to say, okay, I'm going to call this person. I've looked at the various people in my network. This person would be a good contact. How do I get closer to this person, and how do I call them, and what do I pitch? So you're going to gather the courage and the ideas, and strengthen your pitch over time, because you want to succeed. So it's again, and it's not necessarily for the money or for it's because you have challenged yourself, and you're a competitor. Yeah, you have created a competition of only one. But you can still lose. No, and it's the biggest competition you can lose is the one against yourself.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the one that is the most important. But I loved how you framed that for us to really think about, right? Because there is a financial level, of course. But what I've also found is most of us that come from the enterprise software space, we live in a bubble anyway. And unless you're extremely careless with your finances, you're usually pretty safe financially, especially if you've invested any amount of time, decades, like you and I did. I would also say, though, the fact that you hit on reputation, because this is one of the bigger ones. It's, what if I don't do what I said that I was going to do? Because now I've already told these people. But what I would just add on to that, Arnaud, is that that's something very unique to high achievers, because unless you're a high achiever, you don't usually set the bar that way. You don't worry about telling other people that you're going to do something, because it is a way that I've found that you really motivate yourself, because now once you share it, you actually have to go out and do it. And then whether you achieve it or not, well, that's why we have action plans and quarterly meetings and all that other kind of stuff that we learned how to deal with. So I appreciate you sharing that perspective on risk, because many times if you're going to want to do something on your own and you've not thought about that, it can be a shock. But fortunately, yes, you're watching, and yes, you're listening to Arnaud and I, and Arnaud helped to bring that forward.
It's interesting you bring this, because I'm very blessed. I have 8 friends, and we've known each other. So we're a group of 9. We've known each other since our 20s, so 40 years back. Yeah. And some of us have been extremely successful, some slightly less. And for our 50s, I wrote a speech, and it was all about the attitude towards risk. And that's where you can differentiate people very well. Yeah. You have the ones that will take any risk. They will risk their life, and they like it. Yeah. Like they drive extremely fast, and those who are really risk averse, and you see at the end the level of success is very dependent on the level of risk. And you have to measure it the right way. So still be able to drive in your 50s. But I think it's what puts you slightly out of control and out of your comfort zone that make you successful.
Yep.
And every time you take a job, that's exactly where you are. You're in a slightly uncomfortable position, taking a slightly bigger risk. And you just have to have the belief that, inherently you've built the skills to overcome this new situation.
Yeah. No, it's a great perspective, and it is something that is it's really important. And when you have those groups of friends that you can get together and talk about these types of subjects openly, it helps you to be able to bring to the forefront a lot of different topics. So here's one of the things, like, I want to keep talking to you forever and ever and ever, but I got to get ready and wrap this conversation up. But there's one question, Arnaud, that I want to ask you, because we spend so much time only talking about the things that are positive. And one of the things, and I was sharing this with you a bit before the show, like, in life, so many things I did was everything always worked out. And then I had an opportunity to learn a lot about why things can happen for you in life, right? And I talked about that in 2023. But what I came away from that, and what it's helped me to really understand, is that no matter what happens, like when we're going through like the best sales cycle of our life, or at the top of the events, the most memorable events of our life, those are moments, and we don't usually think about them because they're so happy and euphoric, but it's a moment that's happening. There's also times when things are not going well, where it could be a number of different things, but it's not going in the way that you want it to go. So you're at the bottom of the valley. But it seems like when you're at the bottom of the valley, that things tend to last longer, because you just get into a loop of sometimes negativity. And no matter what anybody says to you, what I realize is that you have to be the person, right? You just mentioned that it's a competition of one. And when you're able to help yourself understand that even though it's a negative moment, it's just a moment, and you're going to get through it. So what I would love for you to do is think about, you're going to have a conversation with yourself in 3 years, and you're going to go through moments that are really high, and you're going to go through some moments that are not positive, and thinking about your business, right? what is the one message that you know that you need to leave for yourself so that when you're going through that valley, you're listening to yourself and it's helping you say, you know what, Arnaud, do the next thing so that we can get through this. What's the message that you leave for yourself?
I don't know if it's a message to myself. It's more a technique to live through that pain of doubt, uncertainty, and fear. That, as you say, will catch you at some point, for sure, inevitably. And for me, the technique has always been go in the forest. It can be on the sea, it can be in the mountains, it can be go run. Go do something that your brain will be at rest. You will actually not be thinking about the fear, doubt, and uncertainty. You will regroup into something related to nature. And personally, I feel running in a way rallies, confuses a little bit your brain over time and rallies your body into it, because ultimately you're only one, your body and your brain. And rallying both as one is your strength.
I absolutely love that. Being able to, in using the metaphor of going to the forest, going to the sea, whatever it is, it's really to be able to get your brain distracted from whatever is happening so that you can ultimately combine your mind, combine your body so that you can get through that moment. Absolutely love that. I think it's really powerful. And it also makes me think these conversations go by way, way, way too fast. Way too fast, Arnaud, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, like, we started this not very long ago, and you're thinking about how you were saying to yourself that you were very lucky you were able to follow your intuition. You had your first stop post collegiate, and you're studying geophysics, and you get to a point and you think, you know what? Rather than helping people understand where they should be drilling, you had an opportunity to also get started in the IT space, right? And not knowing about that because you came from a different area. And so what you realized through that stop was, yeah, maybe this is a different place, but you recognize one of your core strengths, and that core strength being able to take very complex ideas and break them down and to make them very understandable for other people. You also understood through that process and through the evolution in that industry that, you know what, everything wasn't just about process and logic. There was also a part that you started recognizing that the top achievers, when you moved into the sales organization, they understood process, but what they also understood was how to build relationships, not only build relationships, but pour into those relationships and make those relationships mutually beneficial. And then as you continue to do that, and whether it was from a local perspective or from a regional perspective, and then even being able to take that to a global perspective, what it's helped you to do is continue to evolve as a leader. It's helped you to not only be able to sympathize, but because you've been in many different types of situations, sometimes going with the flow, sometimes challenging the norm, is to be able to help other leaders and their teams. You have a unique ability to empathize with them. And so I know that a lot of people are like, yeah, Billy, but would you just do us a favor? Please ask Arnaud the question. So people want to know, how can we get in touch with you? How can we find out more about you and also what you are doing, how you're helping leaders and how you're helping their teams with Coachain? Help us understand. How can we get in touch with you?
So that coaching idea actually is because back at VMware during the last 3 years, a number of people started coming into my office and asking, okay, how did you get your VP title? You're French, it's a small country, and you're one of the very few that managed to get to a corporate level, worldwide role, and being a VP. How do you do that? And I can answer that, but that's not the point. The point is I started to become interested in people. It took me a while. And before I thought, my work colleagues or my friends, I'm very interested in, but my customers or my work colleagues, what they do for their personal life, I couldn't care less. Now I've completely shifted. I'm actually deeply interested in people's life.
Yeah.
For me, it's like a novel.
Yeah.
You read a book, and your ability to ask questions take you to the next page and allows you to understand the secret part of people, what motivates them, what, where they get the emotion out of them. And so that's what is interesting me in doing coaching is that you can get the best out of people if you ask the right questions. They will discover both themselves, their skills, their abilities. They will strengthen their what they do at work as well as on their personal life. So that's the coaching element that I really like. Yeah, and quite often people, they want to concentrate on the business life, but actually we're only one. The thing that you suffered when you were 10 years old, you will carry this on all your life, not just in your personal life, in your business life as well. If you don't solve them, you will suffer that pain all along. So it's just an example, but to understand yourself, you have to question all of your life, and through questions, being questioned by somebody else is the best way to realize that and realize your potential.
Exactly. And so how can we find out more about you? How do we contact you?
Can contact me by LinkedIn, obviously. It's an easy way. My email, arnaud.chain@yahoo.com. Sorry, I still have a Yahoo address.
We'll include that in the show notes. But the thing that I would suggest, right, to everyone, because you're part of the Going Long family, because you have invested time in the episode with Arnaud, and it's Chain, which is CHAIN, make sure that when you reach out to Arnaud, that you let him know that you've already listened or watched the Going Long podcast, because it's going to help the two of you continue the conversation in a very different way, because he will already know that you have invested time, that you have something in common. And so that would be the one thing, Arnaud, if you would allow me, I just want to suggest that everyone to leave a personalized invitation, not just like a regular old invitation. And we'll include the ways to contact you also in the show notes. And Arnaud, what I would like to say also too, on behalf of the entire Going Long family, is thank you very, very much for deciding to invest your time with me, with us, and sharing your story. So thank you very, very much. Really appreciate it.
You're very good at asking questions, Billy. Well done.
Right. Thank you very much. All right. And Going Long family, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very, very much.